ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ वर्स् 64 दृश्यते श्रूयते यद्यत् ब्रह्मणोऽन्यन्न तद्भवेत् तत्त्वज्ञानाच्च तद्ब्रह्म सच्चिदानन्दमद्वयम्. So while talking about this Jnana Phalam in form of this Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, now Shankaracharya ji condenses this teaching, Vedantic teaching, connecting to this Upanishad mantras. This is just to show that whatever he teaches, entire Vedantic teaching, has a basis in Upanishad, in Vedic Parampara. In verse 64, one important principle he told that this Brahman and the world, etc., well, there are no two separate entities. Atma and Anatma are really not two separate entities. So in beginning, definitely Brahman is told as a Karanam for the world. A world is a Karyam. And so we clearly divide Karya, Karana, etc. But this division is only temporary. And there are no two real entities. But why should you divide? First you divide and then you say everything is one. Why should you do that? Because it is to be done. Otherwise you consider the body as only Atma. Let's talk about this. Let's not go to the creation right now. You take this body as Atma and feel all the time a sense of limitation. And so that is how that is what your suffering is. And the reality is consciousness is very distinct from the body. And therefore, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktah. That's how we have to say. So that's we have to make a distinction here, that this body, etc., is anatma, it's object of knowledge, it is made up of elements, it is temporary, it is all the time changing, it has attributes. And well, the consciousness is a distinct entity. Consciousness has no attributes. I am free from attributes, I am not made up of elements, etc., etc. I am not a temporary, I am not subject to birth and death, I am not changing, I am constant, non-variable. We have seen in Panchadashi also. And so that is how you understand yourself. And so that division is very important. So that at least you won't take body as a self. You won't claim body as a self. So, well, that is how we have to do that job. And once you know that you are no more a body, then what is your dimension? What's your dimension? What is the height? What is the height? What's your breadth? What's your length? What's your length? Earlier you were saying 5 feet 8 inches is your height. But that was not your height. That was a body's height. So all this, you are consciousness free from dimension. You are consciousness free from the form. Body has a form. You don't have a form. So you are formless consciousness. Oh, I am limitless then. That's what we say. Then if I am limitless, then what about these other objects? And how can I be limitless still? How can I be limitless? It is too early conclusion on your part, Swami. Because body is body. Anyway, I am distinct from body, but body is there. I am consciousness and body is, inert. There are two entities. No, there are no two entities. You are limitless. You are all pervading. Oh, then what about this body? You pervade the body also. Then I pervade the body. In which way I pervade the body? In which way I pervade the body? Well, just as the water pervades the wave. Oh, then actually there are no two things. There are no two things, water and wave. Only water is there. And that's what we say. There is no real anatma. There is no real body. I am going to talk also today. There is no real body, etc. Anyway, so this is how, to show your limitlessness. Ultimately, initially we did it because you consider a particular body, etc., a limited entity, an inert entity. You have taken it as a yourself, whereas you are just pure consciousness, nothing else. There is nothing else other in you. You are considering, you are taking yourself as subject to birth and death. You are taking yourself constantly changing. You are taking with all attributes. You are only telling, I am having these good attributes and that, those attributes, etc., etc., virtues and vices and this and that. So, you are free from everything. For that sake, we did that kind of a separation. And once you are free from the form, then we wanted to convey also that you are Brahman. Not just consciousness, free from body. You are consciousness, free from body. And so body has its own reality, I the consciousness has own reality. No, sir. You are Brahman. That is the Mahavakya. Consciousness is Brahman or you are Brahman. Brahman means limitless. And therefore you swallow even all this entire anatma prapancha also. It is mithya. So that is how this division, what we did initially, Atma, Anatma, etc., that it was very essential to do. Because you have identified yourself with the body and you take yourself as a body. Body is taken as Atma, I is taken as a body. And so that's how it is required. So, so that's how he says, Drishyate Shruyate Yadyat Brahmanaha Anyat Yadyat Brahmanaha Anyat Shruyate Drishyate. Whatever you hear other than Brahman and other than, see other than Brahman, that is you, consciousness. Well, na tad bhavet. Don't think they are there. So object of hearing called sound. Oh, it is different from me. I am consciousness, all right. I am shrotrasya shrotra, agreed. But then sound, shabda is there other than me. No, sir. You pervade everything. Because the moment you say the sound is there, sound exists. Already consciousness has pervaded it. And therefore, there is nothing away from consciousness. Any object of consciousness is not away from the consciousness. And therefore, consciousness pervades everything. And it pervades means, I have already told you how it pervades. Anyway, so yadyat brahmanaha anyat shruyate drishyate etc. na tad bhavek. It is really not there. Tattvajnanacha, if you gain this kind of knowledge, Tattvajnana tad brahma sachidanandam advayam. There is nothing other than Brahman, etc., which is Sachidananda. That Brahman is yourself. There is nothing other than you in this creation. Whatever you see are all your forms, mithya forms, appearances, your appearances, and that is simple to understand in terms of an example. But Swamiji, you are always giving, one person told me, Swamiji, you are always giving an example of a inert thing, right? Suppose if I tell the gold alone appears in thousands and thousands of forms in a gold shop, jewelry shop. And therefore there is only one thing, all other are appearances, maybe a chain and maybe a bangle and maybe anything. or a ring or anything. They are all just appearances. The substantial thing, the reality or the Atma of all the ornaments is just gold. And same way consciousness alone appears in all this form. So he had objection, very nice objection in fact. He said that was an inert thing, Swamiji. Either you give an example of a clay or a gold or anything. It is inert. And you always say that Atma is not inert, etc. So you give a proper example. Well, I said that is also there and it is your experience. The I, the waker, becomes everything. In dream, all, right? In dream, whatever sentient entities, conscious beings are there in dream, and inert things also are there, right? You see many people in the dream, and you see ocean and all this, mountains and that and roads and everything, or space, fire, everything, suppose. So that those also thing is just the waker, everything is that. Okay, then that example is, he said that's correct example. I, the conscious being, appear in varieties of the forms, sentient beings, insentient beings, and therefore, so that's possible. That's possible. But the only condition is waker is a waker. He's a one, non-dual. But under one condition it becomes many. And that condition is he has to sleep. That's how. He has to sleep. Under the spell of ignorance of the waker. Under the spell of ignorance, right? Under the spell of ignorance of one's own nature, waker becomes many. Same way here, Brahman becomes many, appears many, under the spell of Maya. That's how it is. That's what you have. What you see, appearances, that is just Maya. That is Mithya. Nama Rupa, we have discussed yesterday. Asti Bhati Priyam Rupam Nama Chetyam Shapanchakam Adyatrayam Brahma Rupam Jagad Rupam Tatodvayam. Here Jagad Rupam means Maya Rupa. Anyway, so, and this has been very clearly told, whatever we see at the time of this Ajnanam, waker under the spell of ignorance, he sees himself in many forms and everything, and dreamer also, experiencer, and in form of all objects of experiences in dream also. So whatever we see at the time of ignorance, etc., all these things will not be there when knowledge is born. As he wakes up, when the dreamer wakes up, he sees that there was nothing other than me in the dream. I alone appeared in all the forms. And that is Maitreyi Brahmanam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad very beautifully said, Yatra hi dvaitam iva bhavati, tad itara itaram pashyati, tad itara itaram shrunoti, tad itara itaram jigrati, etc. etc. Yatra hi dvaitam iva bhavati, as though become dual, as though become many. They have to tell that, because that's not really division. One cannot become many like that. Brahman has no parts that it will divide into many things. And so, eva, it has to be supplied as though. So, waker as though becomes many in dream. It has really not. Waker has not divided. And so, as the sleep goes, he knows, I am alone was there. In fact, I alone was there even in the dream, but appear as many. Experiencer, experienced, etc. Dvaitam, etc. So, itara itaram pashyati. One sees the other, and one hears the other, and smells the other, and like that. That's what right now the situation is. Still I am in dream right now. And so under the spell of ignorance, I take myself as a seer, and you all people are objects of my seeing. And I take something as an object of smell, something as an object of taste, and I consider it is different from me. Right? Right now I had that kind of a notion, then that's correct. So Dvaitam Iva Bhavati, as though duality. Actually, there is no duality. If I wake up, if I get a knowledge there of my own nature, if dreamer gets its dreamer gets a knowledge of its own nature that he is a waker, then there is a question of manyness, it won't be there. Anyway, so in Mundaka Upanishad also it says Brahmaiva amrutam idam purastat, Brahmaiva paschat, Uttarasta, Dakshinataha, Dakshinatascha, Uttarena, etc. etc. We have seen that mantra has appeared also before. Brahman is everything. Purastat, what is in the front is Brahman, what is in the back is Brahman, what is in the right side is Brahman, Dakshinataha. Uttarena, what is in the left side is Brahman, and what is above is Brahman, below is Brahman, etc. etc. Everything is Brahman. So for ignorant, everything is Brahman. So for ignorant, what it will be? Well, he will say, Jagateva idam purastat. What is in the front is Jagat, what is in the back is Jagat, what is in the right side is Jagat, what is in the left side is Jagat, what is above is Jagat, what is below is Jagat. He says like that. And the Jnani says, what is in the front, etc. He say Atma or Brahman. And Bhagavan also told in the 4th chapter, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, etc. Ishavasya also told, because we are taking a support, because Shankaracharya ji is showing that everything is ultimately Atma, there is nothing called an Atma. Then it is based on Shruti we said. And Shankaracharya is taking a support. So we are giving some Upanishadic support that these are the things in the Upanishad itself. Shankaracharya is not telling from his own that everything is Atma and there is nothing called Anatma. Anatma is Mithya, etc. is appearance only, etc. That has a basis in Upanishad. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva vijanatah tatra ko mohaha kashrokah ekatvam anupashyatah. Ishavasya also says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva vijanatah. Well, Yasmin is in this person, this knowledge has dawned and it has arisen. Yes, sarvani bhutani atma eva vijanatah. All these beings are insentient, sentient, everything is atma eva vijanatah. One who knows this, tatra ko mohaha kashokaha, for him there is no moha, shoka, etc. Ekatvam anupashyata. He sees one thing alone. So there are many statements in Upanishad. Based on that, Shankaracharya ji tells that there are no two things called Atma and Anatma, Brahman and the world, Karya and Karanam, etc. Brahman is no more a Karanam. Brahman gains the status of a Karanam because we say there is a creation, there is a world, and that creation definitely implies a creator, etc. And so we say it is a Karanam. But then once you analyze the world, you find that everything is Atma alone or Brahman alone. Then there is no real creation. Then in that case, creator status also has been withdrawn. And therefore Brahman is not a Karanam also. Now same idea is there in the next verse. Let's go to verse number 65. Sarvagam Satchidatmanam Jnana Chakshur Nirikshate Ajnana Chakshur Neksheta Bhasvantam Bhanumandhavate. Same idea has been told here in a little different words. Jnana Chakshuhu. This is a Bahuri Samasa. Jnanam eva chakshuhu yasya saha jnana chakshuhu. I mean a person for whom these eyes are nothing but the knowledge. Means a person of a right vision who uses appropriate pramana. As we discussed, if you remember, for a person who doesn't use appropriate pramana, for him there is no salt at all in the water. He says, where is the salt? Because he is using ice, or he is using his hand. He is putting in the jar. He puts his hand in the jar and trying to search where is salt, where is salt. So he is not using appropriate pramana. So for such a person, he is atheist. He says there is no Brahman, there is no Ishvara, etc. But one uses appropriate pramana called tongue. You have to taste it. Achama iti, lavanam iti, urdhvat achama, lavanam, madhyat achama, lavanam, etc. etc. So achama, when you sip, you taste, you will know that there is nothing but salt. And salt has pervaded entire water. So Jnana Chakshu means the person who uses appropriate pramana for knowing Brahmana, Atma as a Brahman. For him, everything is Brahman, definitely. Atmanam nirikshate. So he sees everything as a Atma. Like, the scientist, for him a wall is nothing but the atoms in motion, actually. A intangible atom, actually, in violent motion creates a illusion of a tangible wall. And we will swear that it is a tangible wall. Scientists will swear it is an intangible atom. Now both cannot be right. I say it is tangible. Because how do I say it is tangible? Oh, because wall is, you see the whole ceiling is supported by the wall. And you are telling this wall as an intangible? It's such a tangible entity, it has supported so much weight of the ceiling. And you are telling it as intangible. He is laughing. But scientist is very serious. He says, well, it is all intangible. Your ceiling also is intangible, he says. Not only wall. He says even the ceiling also is intangible. Well, but scientist alone is right? So we go by utility. That's a so shallow thing, basically. We means not us. We are all pakka scientists. But I am talking about other people. So, is this kind of a reality and the function, reality and utility goes together for ignorant. In fact, to the extent, Ajnani always thinks what he experiences is real. What I don't experience does not have existence. That's how it is. He feels that way. In fact, Vedanta says what you experience is mithya. What you don't experience is the adhishthanam of everything. But use a proper means. Otherwise, you will not know the existence of that intangible thing. Yeah, appropriate means you have to use. You want to use your eyes and ears, and you want to use your other senses or inference and presumption. Whatever is available to you, means of knowledge, means of knowing, that you want to employ and arrive at the truth of the entire creation. Sorry, sir, it won't be available. Because the nature of the adhishthanam is such that it has never come in the criteria. It has never come in a purview of this, the human means of knowledge. And therefore you have to use the pramana, which is apaurushaya. This is a Paurushaya Pramana, inference and presumption and perception, all this. But Atma is never perceptible. Where is the question of inferring? Inference will not take place unless some perceptual data is there. Anyway, so this is how, but generally Ajnani has this kind of a feeling. What I experience is real, what has a utility is real, etc., etc. What is functioning is real. And so we say that is mithya. But so scientists know. Scientists also use the word wall. He says wall. And he knows that wall supports the ceiling, everything. He knows very well. But still he says this is intangible thing. So anyway, but one thing is there. Truth is intangible. That's how it is. Truth is intangible. That is how truth can pervade all so-called tangible things. Itself is tangible, it cannot pervade. You can think of that way. See, anything which is very tangible, right, very solid, cannot pervade everything. And therefore, if it has to pervade everything, then it should be intangible. And therefore, truth is intangible. That's how even the wall also, he says the wall, of course, what you see, a wall is nothing but an intangible atom. In motion, of course, but then he says that way. It's an intangible thing. And that's how it pervades the wall. What? Atoms, etc. Same way this Shastra Chakshu, the Jnana Chakshu means Shastra Chakshu reveals the Chaitanyam, Atma, and this Charma Chakshu, etc. reveals the world. But so there is no problem at all. For a Jnani, he sees the world. Like if scientist sees the wall, etc. Scientist sees the function of the wall. Scientist sees the utility of the wall. Scientist experience the wall. Still the truth, he knows the truth of the wall as an intangible atom. Same way, here also this person who has this employ the proper means called Shastra, well, he's Atmanam Nirikshate, he sees this everything as a Atma, Jnana Chakshu. Sarvagam, what kind of Atma? Sarvagam, all pervading, Satchidananda Atma. Ajnana Chakshu na ikshate, well, ignorant person does not see that. Just as like, a superficial observer, well, for him there is a sunrise and sunset and everything. But for a person who is well informed through the science, well, for him, this sunrise and sunset are not true. So now example also is given here. Bhasvantam bhanum andhavate, just as a bright sun is not bright for a blind person. So even though it's very much bright, it's a fact, but for a person who is blind, for him there is no bright sun. So why doesn't he see? Because he does not have appropriate means of knowledge. Same way, if I refuse to study a modern science, well, we will not have a proper knowledge of sunrise, sunset, etc., or a wall, etc. So, but anyway, nothing to worry about. I mean, it is not, because still we can run our life. Even suppose person does not, is for a person who is remain ignorant, I mean, doesn't know the truth about sunrise, sunset, etc., that, well, there is no sunrise, no sunset, still he can run his life. Not a big problem. But herein, why without knowing Atma, well, there will be a problem. And that's what you are searching all the time. You are searching a solution in your life. Whatever you are pursuing in your life is nothing but this Atma alone. One is seeking oneself. That is what the thing is. I am not seeking myself, Swami, but I am seeking peace, security, etc. Well, that is what the Atma is. And therefore, without this knowledge, well, it is very difficult. And if in terms of a worldly knowledge, suppose you know few things, you don't know few things, that's okay. And one cannot know everything also. And at the same time, you may be able to manage it also. But this is knowledge, in absence of this knowledge in you, well, basically you remain as a seeker. And you don't want to remain as a seeker. You want to, in fact, cease the very seeking itself. And that is what, you want a freedom from seeking. And therefore, well, basically, you are searching this thing alone. Atma alone you are searching. 66. Shravanaadivirudita jnanagniparitapitah Jiva sarvamalan muktah swarnavadyotate swayam. Now, having condensed Vedantic teaching connecting to Upanishad, since few verses several verses we saw that Shankaracharya connected all the principles of Vedanta, whatever he has mentioned here, he connected with the different Upanishad mantras. Now that is over. Now in this verse he comes back to the Jnana Phalam again. And he says this Jnana Phalam is like, purifying the old gold which has lost shine. So, and after purifying, it gets back its own shine. So I heard like that when, they want to purify the gold, well, they take the gold in a crucible and they heat it. And then when it melts, the impurity comes to the surface. And then they take it away from the surface. And then that gold, well, again gets its own shine. So it has not received a new shining, but its own shining now manifest. Because of impurities, he has lost his own shine. Because now it has been removed, he gains back its own shine. Similarly, here also, Jiva also has lost his own shine because of the varieties of the impurities. And so that's how instead of a bloomy face, he has got a gloomy face. So, in case of a metal, well, you use a fire for purification. In case of a Jiva, well, we use also fire, but that is Jnana Agni, right? So we use a knowledge as a fire for purification, to make ourselves, the jiva has to make himself free from all the impurities, then he knows, well, I am Brahman, which is ever pure. So when Ajnanam and all the misconception born of the Ajnanam etc. goes away, and then definitely he will find himself Brahman, which is ever pure. So Jivaha Sarvamalan Muktaha, Sarvamalat Muktaha, I'm sorry. He said that Nakara is there because of the Sandhi, because there is another Nakara following, and therefore that Takara has become Nakara. So Jivaha Sarvamalat Muktaha, Ramat, but it's a fifth case. Well, Jiva is made, Jiva is free from all the malas, all the impurities. And now he comes to know that he is a Ananda Sarupa, he is the nature of peace, he is the nature of silence. Atma is ever silence. Even if you want to become, even if you want to become a noisy person, you cannot. Atma is ever silent. Mind can be noisy, or mind can be quiet. Sometimes it is quiet when sattva is predominant. When rajoguna etc. is predominant, it is noisy. But Atma, which shines in its own glory, is ever silent. So I am a nature of peace. I am nature of happiness. I am free from all limitations, etc. I am ever secure. I am free from any. I am never affected by the time, etc. So I have no death, no old age, nothing. I am free from any kind of changes. So contrary to this, all notions we have, so they are all gone, mukta. And how it has gone? Because of the fire. Impurities can go by fire. Which fire? Jnana agni paritapita. So when he is heated in the fire of knowledge, etc. like that. But how this fire is lit? Shravanadibihi uddipta, kindled by this practice, let's say practice, kindled by this Shravana Mananam Nididhyasana. Again and again, that's how I say practice. Again and again Shravanam, again and again Mananam, again and again Nididhyasanam, and that's how one becomes free from that. Because these are the impurities, these impurities are there since beginningless time, and therefore it doesn't go like that. So we have to expose ourselves to Shravana Manana Nidhyasanam again and again, and then these obstructions or the malam impurities, which are of threefold, Ajnanam, Samshayaha and Viparyaha, will go away. What is Ajnanam? I am physical body is Ajnanam. What is Samshayaha? Well, lack of conviction. Shastra says you are not body, physical body. And teacher explained with the help of Anvaya Vyatireka and everything. See, look, in the waking state you are there and the body is there. In fact, body is an instrument of your experience for the waking world. And then, when you go to the dream state, you are there. But physical body is not there. So you exist without physical body means you are not the physical body. Yes. Correct. Okay. So, but then once the Shravanam is over, then, but how can everyone cannot be wrong. Whoever is born in this creation, everyone takes the physical body as the self. Not only human beings, all other living beings also take the body as a self. How this doesn't look like, this Swami comes and tries to convince us, but it looks little odd to me. So that's a lack of conviction. Somebody told me, see, Swamiji, Vedanta is an excellent hypothesis, but not yet proved. Not yet proved. That's what he told. So he says, it is wonderful in the book, Swamiji, that you are pure and this and that, and and you are limitless, free from death and birth and death, and time cannot affect you, and you pervade everything and this. So it's wonderful idea in books, very intellectually also very stimulating. But really speaking, Swamiji, I don't think it is yet proved. Let the science prove it. Then we'll see. And anyway, so This is called a lack of conviction. We call it as a samshaya. This is impurity. So I am physical body is impurity. It has gone now because I have been exposed to the teaching. And then teaching, of course, with the help of logic, etc., I have explained that you are not physical body. But still my intellect is not totally convinced. Then samshaya is another thing. And so I have to convince myself. I need not convince others. This is a thing which we have to give it up. Really. As a sadhaka, we will have to give up to convince others. We can convey, not convince. Really. Because you will lose a lot of energy. And the person may agree also for a time being. Perhaps he will not agree easily. He may okay, for a moment he says that, yeah, what you say is true. But later he will have his own doubts, and therefore we should live it. We should live it, all these things. I need not convince others, but it must be truth for me. At least I should be convinced. So mananam removes, well, lack of conviction. And nididhyasanam removes viparya, as you know, habitual emotional issues, emotional problems. So that is, clarity of clear knowledge also is there, and all these issues are also there. Clear knowledge is here, and this side anger is there. Clear knowledge is here, and this side greed is there. Clear knowledge is here, this side fear is there. That's how somebody told me. Swamiji, do you think that all the students and everything, and including you, are free from fear? Do you want to claim that? He asked me like that. He said, I feel all of are fearful. Where is when you are telling abhayam pratishtha, etc., etc., knowledge makes you free from fear, but I don't see. So people observe a lot of things, and therefore, so these are the issues. In absence of nididhyasanam, this thing will not go. These are all emotional issues. Some people have a nature of anxiety, all the time tension. All the time worry. One other person told me, Swamiji, this gentleman comes to your class and he is studying since many years. But he worries for all of us. He was a family member. He worries for all of us so much, Swamiji, that much worry even we don't have. All the time worrying about this. That person has reached to the college campus or not. This has happened to that. This has happened, all the time. So what is the advantage of this knowledge? I said it should make a person free from the worries. He said, I don't find it. So this is how it is. So that naturally there is a problem. It's a genuine problem. Let other criticize us or not, that's another issue. That is his problem actually. But our issue is that if these emotional problems are there, that shows a lack of nididhyasana. Definitely. Jnanam converts into jnana phalam, result, benefit, when you do this nididhyasanam, or else let's say the impurity called viparya, this dehatma buddhi, etc., goes away. So, sarva malat muktaha, free from all these threefold obstacles, ajnanam, samshaya and viparya. Dyotate, now he stands out, he shines, swayam, he himself shines, being self-shining, self-evident, self-illumining, self-existing. He shines on his own. So moksha is what then, Swamiji? Moksha is nothing but to claim our own shine. Like gold claims its own shine. By after removing the impurities, gold shines its own glory immediately. That's its nature. Shining is nature of gold. That's how it is called tejaha. Nayayikas call this gold, etc., as a tejaha because it is very shining. So moksha also is nothing but claiming our own shine. I am like a gold. Because of impurities, I appear like very dull. But basically, I am also, when I become free from, with the help of this jnanam, become free from this impurities called ajnanam, samshaya and viparya, with the help of shravana, mananam and nididhyasanam, then I also shine in my own glory. Let's go to verse 67. Vrudakashodito hyatma bodhabhanustamopahrute sarvavyapi sarvadhari bhati bhasayate khilam. He talks about the same Atma now. Sarvavyapi, I am all pervading. Sarvadhari, Atma is a supporter, or I am a supporter of everything. Sarvadhishthan, Sarvadhari. From the word adhara, they have made adhari. One who has adhara is adhari. One who has a shasha is called shashi. That's how it is. So Atma is basically adhishthanam of everything, supports everything. But you know now what kind of a support I am talking. Not that the table is a supporter of a book, etc. Don't think that way. Our is adhishthanam, and adhishthanam is something in which everything resides as a non-separate or as a mithya, as appearance. Like wave is support. The water is a support of a wave, etc. Or let's say the waker is a supporter of a dream world. Or let's say rope is a support of a snake. And then you can take. Or else the desert or the sand is a supporter of a mirage water. That way we have to take. One is Satyam, other is Mithya. So there are no two things. Supporter, supported. There are no two things. And then, that is Sarvadhari. Then it says Bhati, self-evident. You see, let's discuss this thing, self-evident thing. See, you are the only person in this world you can refer to by the word I, right? You cannot use this word I for everybody and everything. Everything and everybody other than you is non-I. But what is not I? Whatever I objectify is not I. Sun is not I. Milky Way is not I. Earth is not I. Everything else that is objectified is not I. Objectified means what? Object of knowledge. Objectify. Milky Way is objectified. Objectified means what? It's an object of knowledge. Therefore it is not I. Like that. Milky Way exists. Well, how do I know? How do I know? Well, it becomes evident to me. See, I'm trying to analyze this self-evident. Perhaps you may be very clear about all these things, but let's discuss this point before we complete this text. So, Milky Way. How do you know that Milky Way exists? Well, it becomes evident to me. It becomes evident to me. That's how I know. How does it become evident to me? Well, it becomes evident to me through the means of knowledge, right? Which is why it is valid also. So, there is a Milky Way, there is a galaxy, there is a moon, there is a Jupiter, there is a Saturn, there is this, etc., etc. And so, all these things, each one of them, directly or indirectly, is evident to me. Certain things are not directly evident. Means through your eyes you are not able to see, perhaps, a particular galaxy, let's say. Then indirectly, through the instrument, etc. But ultimately it is evident to you, you know a galaxy, means it is evident to you through a means of knowing. So the same way, the moon is evident to me, Earth is evident to me, and this North America is evident to me, Pennsylvania is evident to me, Silosberg is evident to me. So you keep on saying evident to me, evident to me, evident to me. Who is this me? Who is this me? Well, does evident to me means is evident to the body? No. If the body is I, then body will not be evident to me. Right? If you say evident to me, but so evident to the body, then definitely, body will not be evident to me again, because I am the body. So that's the final thing. But still I say, like moon is evident to me, I say body also is evident to me. Therefore this me, that I, must be different from the body, naturally. So definitely I will, otherwise I will never know that I have a body. Because ultimately body is the one to to the thing, everything is evident to body ultimately, if it is so. Suppose you say this is evident to me, this is evident to me, and if you say that me means the body, but you are going further. You say, well, I am aware of my body. So means body is evident to you. And therefore that me is something different from this body. So there is a body is etc. and it is evident to me. And particularly it is more evident when I have headache and backache etc. So anyway, the body is evident to me. And any notion that I have about myself centered on my body condition that, well, I am fat, I am old, etc., I am black, I am white, etc., is also evident to me. So attributes of the body are evident to me. In fact, there is no body actually. There are only attributes. Body is like a pot, Body is like a pot. Body is a word actually. But pot is a word. But there is no object called pot. Same way, body is also a word. But I cannot think of the body without thinking of its limbs and other attributes. Well, a bunch of cells also makes up the body, and those cells can be reduced to something else also. Anyway, so what I am saying is, we have discussed in Atmabodha, where we discussed this? In Atmabodha, when we were discussing about this Satya Mithya, we have analyzed this thing. And at that time I gave you an example of a flower, if you remember. If you use a word flower, right, you use the word flower. Name. For that, corresponding object should be there. Flower should be there. But you don't find a corresponding object. Well, and then we analyzed the object called flower, and then we found it is just a bunch of petals and pollens and etc. etc. And well, we make a heap of it, we say, no, that is not flower. Then what is flower then? What is flower, etc. So same way, for body also we discussed that from different standpoint, if you look at it, well, from the chemist standpoint, body is just a bunch of elements. From a biologist standpoint, it is bunch of cells. And well, we say it's okay, it is bunch of cells, but why don't you call, well, a bunch of cells are there, lying in front of you. And then I say, well, can you call it as a body? He says, no, I will call it a cell or bunch of cells, a heap of cells. I will not call it as a body. But I said, you have analyzed this and removed and everything. This is the heap, all cells. But he says, no. That's what I say. Word body is there, but the corresponding, meaning or object for the word body is not there. That's what I am saying. Anyway, so this is how, it's mithya. That is what, in fact, for that purpose only we discussed at that time. Anyway, so everything is evident to me, body is evident to me, attributes of the body is evident to me. And then who is this I actually, to whom everything becomes evident? Hunger and thirst are evident to me, eyes and ears are evident to me, well, and mind is evident to me, the thought is evident to me, what occurs in the mind is evident to me, my knowledge is evident to me, my ignorance is evident to me, my memory is evident to me. What is this I? To whom everything becomes evident. So all of them exist. Everything, starting from the galaxy up to this our ignorance. Every one of them exists from ignorance onwards because it is evident to me. When you say Milky Way is or galaxy is, I say, well, how do you say? Well, I know it is there. Means it is evident to me, etc. So everything, each one of them exists from ignorance onwards because it is evident to me. Everything is because it is evident to me. So, but what does this evident means actually? Like right now, a Swami is sitting here, right? Is evident to your eyes. So what is that evidence? What is that evidence? Actually, you say that what is invariable in that evidence is this consciousness, right? Right now you are saying, Swamiji, you are evident to me, or you are evident to us, let's say combined together, all of you are telling me that Swamiji, you are evident to us through our eyes, etc. Means of knowing must be there, otherwise you cannot say. But you are evident to us that Swami is sitting here. So what is invariable in all evidences, starting from galaxy to up to ignorance? Ignorance evident to me, and sense organs are evident to me, and the attributes are evident to me, knowledge is evident to me, memory is evident to me, body is evident to me, moon is evident to me, Pennsylvania is evident to me, North America is evident to me, earth is evident to me, right? So what is invariable in all evidence is consciousness. That's what we discussed even in Panchadashi also. And therefore, that consciousness is the self, because of which I am saying that this is evident to me. So I is nothing but this consciousness. And that is how you use, sometime instead of this, you use another type of sentence, having the same sense, that I am conscious of the moon, I am conscious of galaxy, I am conscious of basically body, I am conscious of eyes and ears, I am conscious of my knowledge, I am conscious of memory, I am conscious of my ignorance, etc. Same thing. It is evident to me. Why I said that evident to me ultimately? Because to prove that the I is ultimately consciousness, to whom everything becomes evident. Anyway, and therefore I, even if instead of that you can say I am conscious of this, I am conscious of this, I am conscious of this, and therefore that I is the consciousness. And and that I, the consciousness to whom everything becomes evident, that consciousness is self-evident. That's what we say, being consciousness. So it reveals itself and it reveals everything else. So that is what we actually say here, and that's what here says, bhati akhilam bhasayate. Bhati. So it reveals itself. I know my existence without taking into account any means of knowledge. I know I exist, and therefore I am self-existent. And anything exists because I say it is evident to me, or I know it, I am conscious of it, and therefore it exists, right? And therefore every other thing is evident to you, and existence also is ultimately known to you. So our existence is basically borrowed from you, and so its evidence and its existence is borrowed from you, because they go together. What you know, you say it exists. Otherwise, you will not be able to say. How can you say this exists? Oh, you say, Swamiji, I know it is there. So that is how. So, but the Atma, I, is self-evident. It reveals itself and it reveals everything else. Atma makes evident everything. That's how you say galaxy is evident, body is evident, this is evident, that is evident, ultimately. So, bhati akhilam bhasayate. Here it says bhati, Atma bhati, means Atma reveals itself, self-evident, being the nature of consciousness, and akhilam means everything. Bhasayate, Atma reveals existence of everything else. So, as because I am a conscious of everything, because I basically is consciousness, and therefore I am conscious of everything, and or else I can say everything is evident to me, and that is how I reveal the presence of everything. I reveal my own presence, I reveal my own existence, and everything I reveal presence or existence of everything else. So this is how the thing is, bhati akhilam bhasayate. So this eternal consciousness, which is reflected in thought, becomes knowledge, and then definitely that part thought is generated, then eternal consciousness gets reflected in that, and part knowledge is generated and destroy part ignorance. Basically everything is evident, becomes a object of your knowledge, but we explain the process like this. This eternal consciousness, which is all the time there, it's reflected in the thought and it becomes knowledge. So part thought becomes, part thought is generated, but part thought becomes part knowledge, because consciousness gets reflected into that, and so it becomes part knowledge. And when part knowledge is there, part ignorance is destroyed. That has been told now. Hridakasha udita bodha bhanuhu. Hridakasha bodha udita bhanuhu. So consciousness arises in the mind. So Hridam here means mind, in the form of self-knowledge, well, which is equated with the Bhanu. Bhanu means the Surya. And so consciousness arises in the mind in the form of a self-knowledge. And what is that? Aham Brahmasmi, etc. When all the notions, etc. are dropped, then you say, I am Brahmasmi, I am limitless consciousness. Then tamaha apahrit, tamaha is ignorance. That self-ignorance, gets destroyed. As I told you, ignorance gets destroyed when the knowledge will be there. Like ignorance goes away when part knowledge arises, right? And part knowledge only removes the ignorance. Just part thought cannot remove the ignorance of the part. When part thought is there, mind has taken a shape of the part, but then consciousness reflected in that thought and definitely illumines the part, that we call it as a part knowledge, that destroys ignorance. Same way, basically, Atma cannot destroy ignorance. Please understand, Atma cannot destroy because Ajnanam itself exists. That's how I said I am conscious of ignorance. So ignorance exists in Atma. But when we say, well, then how can ignorance get destroyed? So we say, well, it definitely requires in a form of a knowledge in the mind. So, well, that Aham Brahmasmi, that thought is there, which is, of course, that Brahman is self-revealing, and therefore that itself shines in the mind, and it removes the ignorance. And that particular knowledge that I am Brahman, etc., limitless consciousness, that removes the darkness or ignorance. Apahrit means destroyer. Tamaha apahrit means destroyer of ignorance. So this is how is told. Atma is, which is all pervading, cannot destroy ignorance, and therefore Atma definitely, the particular thought that I am Brahman ultimately removes the self-ignorance. Like just a pot is, I am ignorant of the pot. Well, that pot ignorance can only be destroyed when pot thought arises and consciousness gets reflected into it, and that is how pot knowledge arises. That can destroy ignorance. Knowledge is the opposite to ignorance, and therefore such kind of knowledge, that can remove the ignorance. Same way Aham Brahmasmi thought arises, need not be illumined by Chidabhasa because I am self-shining, and the consciousness is self-shining, and that removes the ignorance pertaining to the self. And this is how knowledge takes place, that is been told. Even in case of, they say, like, they give an example, sunlight. Sunlight cannot burn anything. But when sunlight focus through a certain lens, then can burn that thing. Same way here also we have to take that way. So Atma, which is all pervading, cannot destroy the ignorance. But then that particular thought, I am Brahman, and that thought is not just a thought, it's a knowledge, because it's a self-illumining. Brahman is self-illumining, and therefore I am Brahman is a knowledge. I am Brahman is a thought first, but I am Brahman becomes knowledge immediately because the Brahman is self-shining, self-evident, and therefore I am Brahman, that knowledge removes the ignorance pertaining to the self. So Hridakasha Udita Bodha Bhanu. Bodha Bhanu. Bodha means Jnana. And Bhanu, it is compared. The Jnanam is compared with the sun. Just as sun arises and the darkness goes away, same way this particular knowledge, I am Brahmasmi, that arises, Udita, it arises where? Hridakasha. Hridakasha means in the mind, and that destroys the self-ignorance. Last verse. I may take a little 4-5 minutes more. It's a simple verse now. Last verse. Dikdesha kaladhyanapeksha sarvagam shitadihrunnitya sukham niranjanam yasvatma tirtham bhajate vinishkriyah sasarvavit sarvagato mruto bhavet. So repeating this Jnana Phalam with the help of an analogy, now he concludes a Atmabodha. And here the analogy of a tirtha, a sacred place, has been given. Now essence of this shloka is that Atma is compared to a sacred waters of tirtha, let's say. Like in Vivek Chudamani also you will find such kind of an example. And so there is an analogy here that we are like a tired pilgrims and traveling from one body to the another body to the other body to the other, from one creation to the other creation, all the time. And so tired also, thirsty also, searching for water, and want to take bath also, like. And suppose a person, such a pilgrim is there, who is constantly moving in the India, and he wants to take a bath, he is thirsty, he wants to take cool water also, get tired, and then he really finds a bank of Ganges. There where he can drink water, he can take bath, etc. And also papam also will go away. So he does that way. Same way they say Atma also is like this Ganges, water of Ganges. It is Tirtham, which removed the tiredness of the samsara, because the jiva moves, constantly moving. That's how we call jiva as a samsari. Samyak sarati, from one body to other body, to other body, to other body, to other body, constantly. So now, jiva also is tired of the samsara. And that such a jiva, well, definitely he has to take a refuge into this Atma Tirtham. Like that person has taken a refuge in the waters of Ganges. Same way, this intelligent seeker, who is a jiva, of course, he should also go to Atma Tirtham. And what kind of a person is the jiva who takes a refuge of Atma Tirtham? He says, Vinishkriya, who has given up these all the pursuits of anatma, basically. There is no other pursuit for him other than moksha. There is no other pursuit for him. There is no arthakama, dharma, etc. Such pursuits are not there for him. Such a person. And in order to gain moksha, in order to go after Atma Tirtham, he has given up all other pursuits, anatma pursuits, let's say. And yaha swatma tirtham bhajate, so that person, bhajate, he pursues Atma Tirtham through Shravana Manan Nidhyasanam. He has given up all other karmas, who pursues merely jnanam, committed to knowledge. And then, he becomes what? Sarvavid bhavati. Once he gains the knowledge of Atma, he becomes omniscient, he becomes sarvagataha, all pervading, and amritaha, he becomes immortal, etc., etc. But what is the glory of this Atma Tirtham? Well, first two lines talk about this Atma Tirtham, glory of the Atma Tirtham. Dik desha kaladi anapeksha. This Atma Tirtha is such, well, it is not dependent upon dik, it is not dependent upon time, it is not dependent upon desha, etc. Without depending, anapeksha. Apeksha means requires. Anapeksha, not requiring any kind of this dik, desha or kala. See, all other sacred waters, if you, to reach itself is a difficult thing. Somebody, before few days, he called that, Swamiji, why don't you come to Rishikesh? Our this Ganges have become so clean. And he sent me some photographs of, video of our Rishikesh ashram with that Ganges, and so beautiful. And then he sent a video of a Rudraprayag also. There, Mandakini and I think other meets, Bhagirathi, they meet there. So in that Rudraprayag, there you can clearly see now. Previously also we were able to see the different waters. Meeting all these two rivers and Sangam. We were able to see, but now it is so clear because of this pandemic, not much rush and everything. The waters have become so clear. So what I am saying is, but to reach their place is so difficult. That's too impossible right now. No train goes and no flight goes, etc. Anyway, so there is apeksha. If I want to reach to that sacred tirtham, etc., Rudraprayag or our Rishikesh or let's say Haridwar, it's very difficult. There is a requirement of reaching that place, very difficult to reach. Whereas Atma Tirtham is, Atma is you. So there is no, there is no other requirement for reaching the Atma. And Shankaracharya ji mentioned dik also, direction. Dik also is very important. Even in Tirtham also they say like that. Like suppose you have reached already to Ganges, on the bank of Ganges you have reached and you want to take a bath. They say you have to dip into the water of Ganges facing east or something. You should not face south. So dik also is, the requirement of dik also is important. Even if you reach to that place, Tirtham if you reach, sacred water etc., well it is there. Well, even if you reach there, still importance of dik is there. Direction is there. Before you take bath, you have to see in which direction and you stand in the water and take a dip. Then Desha, of course, place also is there. Even in the place also, there is so much importance. They say, well, you can take bath in the Rishikesh, in the Ganges, that's one thing. But if you should reach to Allahabad in Sangamam, that gives you more punya, etc. And there is a Samudra Snanam like Rameshwar, that is also Tirtha. There is a Samudra Snanam. There are also Sangamam, that Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean, etc. All that Sangamam. So they say it's a great punya. So my point is, direction is important, a place is also important. Ganges means not everywhere it is, it is good, but still a particular place called Sangamam where is there. Well, in that, there you reach and take a bath, etc. Then your all papas will go away, etc. And then Kalam also is very important. And Sangamam, that if you reach at the time of the Kumbh Mela, etc. And in Kumbh Mela also there is a particular day come. Lakhs and lakhs of people take bath. And that too first, in early morning. That particular day, very, 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 special day. Very, very sacred. So you are in Allahabad, etc. And still, and you are in a Kumbh Mela also. But still in that Kumbh Mela also a particular day and that to particular time and etc. is very, very important. So Dik, Desha, Kala, Adi, Apeksha is there in other Tirthas. Whereas in case of Atma, Anapeksha, well, basically you don't require any kind of that particular time and particular place, etc. because there is no question of these things, requirement of these things are there because Atma is all the time. It's all pervasive and all the time it is there. And there is no such thing called Dik, etc. also. So reach to this Atma Tirtham. What kind of Atma Tirtham? Shitadi Hritam, one which is free from Shita, Ushna, Lava and Nashta, etc. Sanyoga, Viyoga, etc. which is free from everything, Mana, Apmana. That's what Bhagavan told. That is what Bhagavan told, in Bhagavad Gita, Samadukha Sukha Swasthaha, Samaloshtasma Kanchanaha, Tulya Priya Priyo Dhiraha, Tulya Nindatma Samstutihi, Manapamanayo's Tulya, etc. etc. Tulya Mitrari Pakshayoho, etc. So, it is free from Dukkha and Sukham, and it is free from Priya and Apriya, free from Mana and Apamana, free from Ninda and Stuti, etc. Free from, taking a part of a friend or a foe, etc. All. Atma is basically free from everything. So, Atma is Shitadi Rut. Shita and so Adi Padat Ushna. All free from all pairs of opposites. Nitya Sukham. This Anatma gives a temporary pleasure. Atma is a source of Nitya Sukham. In fact, Atma is the only source of happiness. We have seen that. So, we need not discuss now again. And Niranjanam, free from any blemish, free from any kind of blemish. Punya, Papa, etc. or other blemishes which I think that I can be blamed because of these things. Well, that kind of blemish also is not there in me, in Atma. Well, so go to this Atma Tirtham, which is free from all blemish, free from all pairs of opposites, and etc. Sarvagatam, all pervasive, does not have apeksha, does not have any requirement of reaching, etc. and does not have a apeksha of a time, place, direction, which is all pervasive. Reach to that Atma Tirtham through Shravana Mananam and Nididhyasana. What? Shravanam of what? Shravanam of Atmabodha. So, studying Atmabodha, reach to the Atma Tirtha, that's what the thing is. But we have studied. Study again, that's how. Studying again. One time bath is not sufficient in Ganges, Everybody at least 3 times take a bath. Then next day again 3 times. People go for the camps and they won't miss a single day in taking a bath in the Ganges. And some people in the camp, I have to tell them, please stop. They morning also they go, and then afternoon also they go, and evening also they again go. What I'm saying is, when you reach to such sacred places, tirtha, etc., well, you take bath again and again. Same way here also, reach to the Atma Tirtha, well, study the Atmabodha again and again. Study the Shastra again and again. So this is with this we have completed the text called Atmabodha. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.